Hey folks, Fernando doing another video for the Modern Survivalist, and in this video I'd like to talk about the loss of freedom in the United States. I think it has reached proportions that few fully comprehend. Part of this may be this dynamic that I'm familiar with, which is lack of objectivity, because you are there in the middle of it. When you are in a country that is going through one of these huge processes, you rarely have that capability of putting yourself outside from that picture and looking at it objectively. Now, as an objective observer, I'm telling you, it is amazing. It's amazing how fast it's happening. Joe Biden is not even the president yet. He's not even the president yet. Right? That's happening tomorrow, okay? But it's amazing what you're seeing right now already. And few people thought it would get to this point. People always like to think that, no, this could never happen here. No, that happens in crappy third world countries. No, we're a lot better. I mean, I've been told many times the United States is the beacon of freedom in the world. Have you looked at what's happening right now? I just uploaded a video from Tucker Carlson from Fox News. Yeah, sure, Fox News will already know what they did during the elections. And yeah, Tucker Carlson himself, you have it's things. One of the things we will have to learn is to be a little bit more understanding of the interests of different people and not just discard folks right away. I think that video I uploaded from Tucker Carlson is actually great. You definitely have to watch it. I'll leave the link below. You know what? Pause this video and just go watch that link from Tucker Carlson. It's like a few minutes, but he makes a great job in explaining lots of these things that I'll go through right now. And then come back and watch this video. I'll go into maybe a little bit more detail regarding some of the things I see particularly worrisome, given what I've seen in Argentina that has gone through somewhat of a similar process, and it's maybe a lot more advanced in some aspects, maybe not as bad in some others, which is crazy, which is tough to digest, but it is what it is. Argentina has gone through that process in which people ended up calling it Argenzuela, like Venezuela. You're going from Argentina to Venezuela. The United States is going through something very similar. We could argue all day long how far it has gone or not, but there's no question whatsoever that it is on that path. And Amerizuela is a real thing. If you don't think it is, then you have your head so deep under into the sand, you're just not seeing what's happening. Let me just go through some of the things that Tucker Carlson mentioned, which I think, first of all, the deployment of 30,000 armed federal troops in D.C. They have more soldiers armed with rifles and loaded guns and ammunition that you have in occupied countries, right? The language that it's being used. This is something I didn't see Tucker Carlson mention this specifically, but I will, and this is something you definitely want to be very careful about. The use of words of sedition, and domestic terrorist. Those are the key words that obviously the memo went around, and everyone is agreeing on using those all day long. Sedition, domestic terrorist, and they want to label you as a domestic terrorist. They're using the same language, and they're actually literally saying that it's just as bad as ISIS if you are conservative. Not if you are destroying, attacking, or going into the Capitol or whatever. No, none of that. Just because you are conservative, just because you're a Republican, just because you're not a downright commie, you are a domestic terrorist in these people's eyes. That is so dangerous, that kind of language being used, not just by some freaking lunatic online on the internet. This is being said by your own elected officials. This is being said by the people in government that actually make the decisions. And by you, I mean if you're slightly conservative. I consider myself a somewhat conservative, center-right person in my political views. In general, some may think, oh, I'm a far-right. No, I don't consider myself a far-right at all. I'm mostly try to be mostly balanced person. Now, these folks, they don't see any in-between ground. They don't see any logic or balanced opinion. They just see you're either loyal with a regime, you're on our side, or you're not, or you're just an enemy of ours. They're putting you in that role. They're not giving you a choice. They're not giving you even a choice of saying, I don't want to. I'm not going to be voting neither Republican nor Democrat. I just don't believe in this system anymore. They're not even giving you that option anymore. They're telling you if you're not on our side, you're an enemy. All right. That is how far this has gone, and this is it has a lot to do with the demonstration of force that you're seeing in the sea. Why is it that all of a sudden you need 30,000 troops in D.C. when they didn't even bother locking the door of the Capitol when this happened last time, during the protests in which supposedly anti-government seditionists invaded the angry mob that destroyed everything, which never happened. This is sedition, and when they created the Chaz-CHOP, that was not sedition. We're living in a crazy world. We're living in a parallel universe where they've lost complete shame regarding anything they say anymore, and they're just going for it, full throttle, non-stop. They're just not seeing any end to this, and this is very concerning. So there's this. So not only are the troops being deployed, but they're going through a screening, what's called ideological vetting, to see if they're loyal not to the United States, not to the Constitution, to see if they're loyal to the Democratic Party. Right? They're being vetoed and being screened because, according to Congressman Steve Cohen, about 75% of the troops are white males, which, according to him, 75% at least are likely to vote for the other side. Only 25% were likely to vote for Joe Biden. So the other 75%, and I quote, may want to do something. So they're being considered enemies, even as they're being dragged to D.C. for nothing other than just a show of force for a bunch of power-hungry authoritarians. Not only that, but they're being screened for their ideology to see if they're loyal, not to the Constitution, not to the United States, to see if they're loyal to the Democratic Party, right? Because they may want to do something. He came this close to calling those folks, that 75% of those white males in the National Guard, this close, calling them, domestic terrorists, which is actually what Congressman Steve Cohen was most likely thinking of when he said may want to do something. Do something about what, Mr. Cohen? Do something about what? This is the situation in which you are now. I cannot think of many countries that have gone through this. Other than China, of course, or North Korea, where you're being screened for your ideology before being deployed within your own country. Are you crazy? Are you nuts? This is from the Daily Beast. Can U.S. spy agencies stop white terror? Right? Again, the idea of terror, the idea of terrorism. I don't know who it was. You guys let me know in the comment section. There was one of these bastards saying that we stopped ISIS, we stopped international terrorism, we have to stop domestic terrorism as well. White supremacy and white people, white males. It is completely out of control. And this is even before Biden is president. They've already gone this far, or just a day before this goes down. They're spying on you. They're going to be controlling your ideology. We've already seen websites going down and people being censored because of not being left-wing enough. I mean, there's no in-between point anymore. You're either on their side or you're a domestic terrorist or you're a downright enemy. Right? That's how the folks in charge are labeling you. Responsible Body Armor Possession Act. They're going after body armor as well. They're going after ammunition. They're going after your guns. All of this stuff, your bullets, your guns, all of this being, this far from being taken away from you. It is nuts. It is incredible, but you know what? It is happening. And a lot of you folks never thought it would. And this is the point in which you see who's a true patriot or not. Even beyond that, who's someone that really upholds freedom, liberty as true values, beyond any kind of nationality that you may have. I'm not even American. I actually got banned from a survivalist board just a few days ago because not complaining, what was the word used? I was trolling an American being a non-American myself. I was trolling, and what I said, that the trolling part was someone was saying that the woman, Ashley Babbitt, that got shot in the Capitol, that it was the same as a home invasion. And I told the guy, you know what? When you finally end up losing all your freedoms, you're going to be the only one to blame for it. That's what I said, and that was trolling an American by a non-American. So guys, yeah, this is the moment. This is the time where you see. The good thing is you already see where everyone is standing. When Steve Cohen says that you have to be screened for your ideology, well, you know who's going to be locking the door of those trucks before being taken to re-education centers as to get that conservative out of you. You know what? And there's also going to be these backstabbers, these folks that consider themselves patriots, consider themselves gun owners. I mean, we've seen this all along. I get a little bit more pissed with people that are betraying, you. That's a little bit more upsetting, because when people talk this way about you having to be dragged to a test to see what kind of ideology you have. That's pretty straightforward. Now, the guy that pretends to be a pro-Second Amendment, pro-gun owner, and just flips like a damn pancake when he sees it fit, that's a little bit more upsetting. But this is a moment. This is a moment where it's going to be going down, and we'll see how those dices end up falling in what we have to deal with. Guys, that's going to be all for now. Remember that so as to prepare for all of this, it's the kind of stuff I've been writing about for quite some time. You'll find these quite useful, my 2 books. There's my other book, Bugging Out and Relocating, which a lot of folks will find useful as well. But so much has changed since I wrote that book a few years ago that some of the things regarding relocating to our countries no longer stands. New Zealand, Canada, places where freedom these last couple of years, this last year actually, gun rights being stripped away from you. It's happening, guys. It's going down, and how bad this gets or not, no one can tell, but it is a lot worse than so many of you thought it could possibly get. And the normalcy bias, the idea that, well, yeah, we're not going to be putting up with it. Well, you kind of are. You kind of are, because this keeps on happening. And what I'm more concerned, because this is a deal. Conservatives, people that love freedom, liberty, good folks, we tend to be the last ones to react. We tend to be the ones that we're not going around burning towns, cities, destroying police stations, creating our own separate state within the downtown of a city. We don't do that sort of thing. That's the kind of thing that criminals do. That's the kind of thing that criminals do, and you actually see a damn criminal record, this big, like that. But we tend to be folks that try to, stay on the good side always. And it's only when you're pushed to a breaking point where you just don't have any other option. And that's the way it's been for several years. That's the way it's been. Now, what I see very revealing is that on the left, they are pushing forward. They want to see. They're already talking about war. They want to see a civil war. These guys, when they call you a domestic terrorist, they're praying, they're looking for this. They want this to happen because they know that the only way in which you will react and the only way in which they will find a public forum that kind of gives them the nod of, yeah, let's crack down on these white supremacists, whatever nonsense. The only way they see it happening is when they push you up to the point in which you're basically being dragged to prison because you're a domestic terrorist, because you don't share their same left-wing crazy ideology. And that's actually the final point. That's a breaking point, and that's what they're pushing for. That's what they're pushing for when they're calling you a domestic terrorist, just like ISIS, right? And that you need to be stopped. Okay? Guys, take care, folks. Keep preparing. See you in the next video. Have an awesome day.